Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is our math class where we learn most of the topics in mathematics. So today we are going to look at quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. So we have done quadratic expression in our last video. So we are going to look at quadratic equation. Quadratic equation is not much different from quadratic expression. The only difference is that in quadratic equation, there is a presence of equality sign, which makes it an equation. So generally, we have our quadratic equation as the form as squared plus bs plus c equals to 0, such that a not equal to 0. In our video on quadratic expression, we have explained the reason why a must not be equal to 0. So we have explained that. Please, if you have not watched the video on quadratic expression or how to factorize quadratic expression in our videos, please, I will advise that you move back and watch the video on quadratic expression, because most of these things here are being explained there. The only difference there is that we now have equality sign, which is equal to 0 here. So there are many methods of solving quadratic equation. Namely, we have methods of solving quadratic equation. Number one, we have factorization method. Number two, we have completing the square method. Okay, this completing the square method is what will give us a formula method. That's the use of formula in solving quadratic equation. Then the third method is graphical method. So graphical method. So these are the three basic methods of solving quadratic equation. So in this video, we are going to focus on factorization method, okay? And this factorization method is very simple, very easy, and you will find it easier to solve if you have actually watched our video on factorization of quadratic expression. If you have watched our video on factorization of quadratic expression, you will really find this factorization method of solving quadratic equation very simple. So I will really recommend and advise that you go back and watch our video on quadratic expression. That is factorization of quadratic expression. Okay, so now let us move to factorization of quadratic equation. Just the way that we did in factorization of quadratic expression, we are going to take some steps. So, of course, this is our equation, as squared plus bs plus c equal to 0, such that a not equal to 0. So giving a squared plus bs plus c equal to 0 such that a not equal to 0. So step 1, find the product of a and c. That is a times c. So let's assume that it's going to give us ac. That's the multiplication of the two numbers. The a is the coefficient of s squares and b is the coefficient of s and c is the constant. So we have done a lot of explanation of this in our video on factorization of quadratic expression. Please do well to check it out. So when you have done that, step 2 will be to find the two factors of AC that is sum will give B. So we are looking for two factors of this number here, two factors of AC that when you sum it, it will give you B. Okay, so the third step is to replace B with the sum of the two factors obtained in step 2. So the two factors that you have gotten here, you use the sum of those two factors to replace B in this equation, okay, in this equation here. So after that, after you have replaced, the next thing to do, which is step 4, is to group and factorize. So when you have grouped and factorized this part of the equation, so the next thing now is to solve for s. That's our variable. Is to solve for s. So we are going to, in next page now, we are going to solve some of the examples and see how we can be able to use the following steps in solving a quadratic equation. Okay, so let's move to the next page. Let's take an example. Solve the following equations using factorization method. Okay, using factorization method. So the first equation we are going to have is s squared plus 3s plus 2 equals to 0. Okay, so we have our solution. Now, the first thing I will do here is to identify my coefficients. A is 1 here. Why is A 1? Because the coefficient of s squared is equals to 1, and B is 3. The coefficient of s is 3, and C is 2. So with that now, we can now go to our step 1. Step 1 says that you have to find the product of AC. So A times C will give you 1 times 2, which will give you what? 2. And we need to find the factors of these two here, that when I add it, I will have 3. So fortunate enough for us, the two numbers that we have used to multiply to get to, when I add it, I will get my 3. Okay, I will get my 3. So what does that mean? In place of 3x now, I'm going to replace it with 1x plus 2s. That means s squared plus, we don't normally advise to write 1s, but you can write it since we are still learning. 1s plus 2s. You can see I have replaced some of these two factors in place of b, so there's no b anymore. The 3 that is for b have been replaced with the sum of the two factors, then plus 2 equals to 0. So the next step now, after we have done that, the next step is to group our equation. We have done that in our previous videos on factorization. So we group these two. We have s squared plus 1s plus 2s plus 2 equals to 0. So you factor out what is common, s into s plus 1, okay, plus 2 into s plus 1 equal to 0. So the next thing to do is to bring out these two things that are common here. So that will give us s plus 1 into s plus 2 equals to 0. Okay, let's divide this place into 2. So with this now, we have done the step 4. So the step 4 is to group and factorize, which we have done. So step 5 now means that you have to solve these two things. Now, let me explain what we are going to do here. When you have two numbers, let's say P times Q equal to 0, for two numbers to multiply to give you 0, it simply means that it's either that P equal to 0 or Q equal to 0, or P and Q will give you what? 0. So P and Q are 0. That's the only condition that this thing here will actually be true. Okay, for two numbers to multiply to give you 0, it is certain that at least one of them is equal to 0. So for us to have these two brackets here, these two numbers multiplying to give you 0, it's certain that at least one of them will give you 0. So let's clean that. Okay, so since we have two expressions here multiplying to give you 0, therefore s plus 1 equal to 0, or s plus 2 equal to 0. Okay, so we now solve for s. That's our last step. We are trying to solve for s. So here, s will give you minus 1, or s will give you minus 2. So this is the solution of our equation. So we are going to solve different examples. At least we are going to solve 4 examples. So this one. Now, how I normally categorize my examples is that I look at this operation here. If I have plus plus, I would like to solve minus when we have minus here and when we have minus here. And I would also like to solve when we have plus minus and when we have minus plus. Okay, at least to make us to be able to touch different kind of question. So let us go to the second example. Okay, so in this second example, We are going to look at 16s squared minus 24s plus 9. Okay, 16s squared minus 24x plus 9. Okay, so we need to start now. So first thing we need to do, so our answer, first thing we need to do is to find our A, B, and C. So A is 16, B equals to 12, and C equals to 9. So the next thing to do is our step 1, which is to find the product of A and C. So the product of A and C here will give us 16 times 9. So 16 times 9, that will give us 144. So we are going to look at the two numbers. Oh, we make mistake here. We have that B equals to minus 24, not 12. So let's clean that. Minus 24. So we have minus 24. That's right now. So we are looking for two numbers that can multiply to give us 144. And when we add it, we'll get what? Minus 24. Now, this is where I need to explain something. So that will give us minus 12 times minus 12. I will have 144, and minus 12 plus minus 12, that will give me minus 24. So you can see we have gotten what we are looking for. Okay, so what I need to add, what I need to use and replace minus 24 is minus 12. Plus minus will still give me minus, so I have minus 12 minus 12. So let's come back here and do that replacement. I will have 16s squared minus 12x minus 12s. So you can see I have replaced minus 24 with minus 12 minus 12, then plus 9. Oh, we did not include our equal to 0. Is an equation. So the next thing to do is to group and factorize. Okay, so when you group this one, you have 16s squared minus 12s. Now when you have minus at the middle, I have explained most of this in the factorization of algebraic expression. Okay, when you have minus at the middle, it's going to make, and you are bringing that minus outside the bracket, this one will be 12s, and the sign of this one is going to change to minus 9, because minus times 12s will give you minus 12, and minus times minus will give you plus, equal to 0. So you factor out what is common. When you factor out what is common, you have 4 is common, and the s is common. So 4s into, we have 4s minus 3 minus, what is common here is 3. So you bring 3 outside, you have 4s minus 3 equal to 0. Of course, you can see the bracket that are common. So you have 4s minus 3 into, you have what here? 4s there. You have what here? Minus 3 equal to 0. So we have factorized that equation. And the next step now is to solve for x, okay? Which is to solve for. Okay, let's finish it up here. So you can see that we have 4s minus 3 equal to 0, or 4s minus 3 equal to 0. So that will give us that 4s equals to 3, or 4s equals to 3. So when you divide both sides by 4 here, you have 4s over 4 equals to 3 over 4, or 4s over 4 equals to 3 over 4. So this one here and this one will cancel out. I have s equals to 3 over 4, or this one will cancel this one. I have s equals to 3 over 4. So you can see that our solutions are the same, okay? We are going to talk about the nature of solution of quadratic equation in our coming videos. So with this thing being together, with these two being together, so I will say that s equals to 3 over 4 twice. Okay, so we have solved, we have minus and we have plus. Okay, so the next one we are going to look at might be minus minus or plus minus. So we'll see uh, the dynamic of the solution or the nature, especially when it comes to looking for this value that will multiply to get the product of AC and that will add to get the same value with B. So let's move to example 3. Okay, so you can see this type of equation. This is our example 3. We have 18 minus 3s minus 3s squared equal to 0. So you can see that this time around our as is now here with negative sign. There are many ways you can solve this problem. You can solve this problem like this, or you can solve this problem like this, or you can change everything here by multiplying all through by minus 1 or dividing all through by minus 1. If you do that, this equation is going to change as s squared, 3s squared plus 3s minus 8 equal to 0. So what you are seeing here and what you are seeing here, they are the same. Okay? Because see it now, when you carry this one here cross over the equality sign, it will change to plus s squared plus 3s squared. When you carry this minus 3s cross over equality sign, it's going to change to plus 3s. When you check this 18 and cross over there, it's going to change to minus 18. Okay, so they are the same. But if you don't want to do all that, you can still solve your problem like this, okay? But you're solving like this, you have to be more careful so that you will not make unnecessary mistakes. Okay, so let us wipe this out and solve like this. So our A here is minus 3, our B here is minus 3, and our C is 8. That's the A is the coefficient of S squared, B is the coefficient of S, and C is the constant. So we try our A times C, that will give us 18 times minus 3. 18 times minus 3 will give us minus 54. So we need two numbers that can multiply to give us minus 54, and when we add it, we are going to get minus 3. Okay, so when you multiply 9 times minus 6, that will give you minus 54. And when you add 9 plus minus 6, that will give you 3. So you can see we have gotten our minus 54, but we have not gotten our minus 3. So what I explained in the last example is that you change the sign of the two numbers. That means minus 9 plus 6 will give, minus 9 times 6 will give you minus 54, and minus 9 plus 6 will give you minus 3. So with that now, all you need to do is to replace your minus 3 with your minus 9 plus 6. So let's do that here. 18 minus 9x plus 6s minus 3s squared equals to 0. So with that now, we group our expression at the left hand side and equate to 0. So that will give us 18 minus 9x plus 6x minus 3x squared equal to 0. So with this now, I have 9 that is common. So I have 2 minus x plus, here I have 3s that is common. So I have 2 minus s equal to 0. So that will give us 9 plus 3s into 2 minus s equal to 0. So with this now, you have gotten your two factors. So you equate each of them to 0. So what that means is 9 plus 3s equal to 0, or 2 minus s equal to 0. So with what we have now, we have that 3s equals to 9, or okay, let's keep our minus s, give us minus 2. So here, divide by 3s over 3 equals to 9 over 3, or minus s over minus 1 equals to minus 2 over minus 1. So when you divide this one, you will have that s equals to 3, or when you divide this minus minus will go, you have s equals to 2. So that's how we can solve our problem. Very simple. So let's solve one more example before we conclude this video. Okay, so let's have, when we have plus and minus, so that will give us 2s squared plus x minus 15 equal to 0. So the first thing to do is to get the value of our a, which is 2, our b, which is 1, of course, here it is plus 1, then our c, which is minus 15. So we multiply AC, which is 2 times minus 15. That will give us minus 30. So we look for two values that will multiply to get minus 30, and when we add it, we are going to have 1. So I think that will give us 6 times minus 5. That will give us minus 30, and 6 plus minus 5, that will give us 1. So with 6 minus 5, because plus and minus will give us minus, so with 6 and minus 5, we can use it to replace here. So that will give us that 2s squared plus 6s minus 5s. So you can see how we have used that here. Then minus 15 equals to 0. So you group your two numbers, so that will give you 2s squared plus 6s minus 5x. When you bring minus outside, the sign of the individual numbers will change. So this one is now plus 5s. This one will change to what? Plus 15 equals to 0. So it's just like whenever you have minus here, if you bring that minus here and open bracket, the sign of this one here will do what? Will change. If it was plus, it will change to minus. If it was minus, it will change to plus. So what is common here? 2s is common. When you bring it out, you have x plus 3 minus, what is common here? 5 is common. You have x plus 3 equal to 0. So you can see our brackets are common. S plus 3, s plus 3. So that will give us s plus 3, what is common. Then what is left there is 2s minus 5. So we have factorized. The next thing now is to solve. So for us to solve, you say that s plus 3 equal to 0, or 2s minus 5 equal to 0. So that will give us that s equals to minus 3, or 2s equals to 5. So with what we have now, we can now solve for s. That will give us minus 3, or when you divide both sides by 2, you have s equals to 5 over 2. So these have given us our answer. So we are going to conclude our video here. In next video, we are going to look at completing the square method of solving quadratic equation. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.